On Capitol Hill, members of Congress got a briefing about foreign interference in the election. Two U.S. intelligence officials tell NBC News the Trump administration has known for weeks that Iran and Russia hacked local governments and obtained voter registration and other personal data. They report Russian hackers stole data from two servers, and Iran used it to send threatening emails to Democrats in battleground states. Reports of interference, misinformation, and voter fraud allegations all take a toll on the confidence Texans have in the election process. Joining us now for insight is Jim Henson from the Texas Politics Project. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Josh. Good to be here.
Sure. Jim, you've polled Texas voters about their faith in the election system. You called the results grim and scary. Who did you poll and what did you find out?
Well, we polled 1,200 registered voters, and within that, a little over 900 registered voters, all Texans, in late September and early October. And we asked them a wide range of questions about what kind of threats they saw to the election process and how they expected the process to go. And I found it scary because the lack of trust in the system is so widespread. Um, and in addition to that, there's not even agreement on what the problems are. People have lined up along partisan lines on the kinds of threats that they see to the system. So you really get the best of both worlds. Both Democrats and Republicans see big flaws in the system and have doubts about it, but there's little agreement on what those flaws are.
Well, earlier in the program, we looked at cases of voter fraud, and it does happen in Texas, but it's still rare. You found large numbers of Texans expect this to be a serious problem in the election. What's driving that concern?
Well, I think what's happening here is that the concern is being driven by partisan leadership on both sides, melded with, at least on one side, a degree of historical experience. So, for Republicans, as your report kind of suggests, the state leadership, particularly the Attorney General's office, beats the drum quite a bit on the issue of election integrity and voter fraud. Um, for Democrats, there is a long history of uh, government efforts to limit access to the ballot box. That's taken a lot of forms over the post Civil War history in the state. But most recently, there's a lot of experience with the registration process being difficult, attempts at purging the voter rolls, and a whole series of laws that ultimately make it harder to vote in Texas. And I think it's important to underline that if you think about those two sides of the argument, they're not really equal. The track record of putting additional rules and burdens on voters is pretty clear on one side. On the other side, as you say, there are incidents of voter fraud, but if you go to the Attorney General's website and look at their election integrity program, they say that they've found approximately just a little under 500 cases of voter fraud since 2004. If you put that over the number of votes cast in Texas in that same period, it's an infinitesimal incidence that have had very little effect on any elections in the state.
Something that has certainly changed since 2004 is social media. We've heard from viewers worried about false information, particularly on social media. How did that play out in your poll?
Yeah, it's a silver lining to a very dark cloud, and it's not even that silver. That one area in which voters of all political stripes agree is that misinformation spread on social media is an extremely serious problem. In fact, when we ask people about the problems that Texas voters face in the election problems and the threats to election integrity, the misinformation spread on social media was the top response. More than half of Texans said that, and very little difference between Democrats, Republicans, Independents.
Your poll found that Texans raised a lot of concerns about the process. Are those concerns enough to keep people from accepting the result of the election? How can we restore faith in the system, Jim?
Well, I think we saw a lot of troubling signs, as I said at the outset, that Texans have doubts about whether they're going to be able to trust the outcome. We asked Texans if they thought they would trust the outcome of the presidential election. Only about 40% said yes. Um, Less than 20% said no, but a large number of people said that they didn't know. I take that as a negative. In terms of what we can do, I think, once we get clear of this election, the votes are counted, winners are declared. There'll be a legislative session in Texas next year. And in a more competitive Texas, some kind of election reform that is bipartisan and gives a little on both sides would go a long way towards demonstrating to Texas voters that they don't have to look at this in such a partisan way. If they're partisan leaders, will find some ways of agreeing on an election reform that would both ease access to the ballot and make the system more secure. It would go a long way towards shoring up people's trust.
All right, Jim Henson, director of the Texas Politics Project. Always nice to have you.
Thanks for having me, Josh. Take care.
The first essential family caregiver gets to hug her mother at a San Marcos nursing home.
Who is that, Miss Colleen? Has it been long enough?
The plan to make more reunions like this possible, even as the number of COVID-19 cases climbs statewide.